So I don't know. I was thinking maybe we could like try to start up the show a little differently. Maybe try something on. I don't know, like do like a cold open. What do you think?
Okay, you want to record that now?
Yeah, no, let's try it. Let's go for it. Let's try it.
All right, well, let me go get ready.
What? Pete, Pish.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
That's not what I was talking about, Pish.
Oh, what did you mean?
Welcome to Court Cousins. Two cousins sharing laughs and talking the team they love, the Orlando Magic. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 6 of Court Cousins. My name is Kyle. I'm joined by my co-host, my cousin, Jason the Pich. Today, we've got a great show for you, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a ROLO Check In, of course. We got a social media roundup. We have a new segment, Pich, that the people will like, What I Learned. Then we're going to do a classic fill in the blank, and we'll finish it off by declaring our champion in the first round of the Court Cousins Championship. You look a little forlorn there, Pish. You might be giving away the ending there.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, my Rolo check-in will have nothing to do with that.
So let's get into it. Our ROLO check-in. I'm a teacher, and at school, we loved it. You know, it's important to check in with the social, emotional well-being of the young people and us adults too. But we do it a little bit differently here on Court Cousins. We do it on the meter of a Robin Lopez. So, Pish, how you doing today for the ROLO check-in?
Well, I'm feeling good, and I've chosen an Orlando Magic virtual Rolo from NBA 2K 22. Just got it yesterday, and I've played it just a little bit. It's pretty hard. I haven't played an NBA game in a couple of years, but I figured this would be a fun way to play with the Magic and get to know some of the players around the league. So I have started to go down the rabbit hole of playing video games again for the first time in a while, and playing with Rolo was a lot of fun last night. I pushed it a little bit. I tried to get him to 10 and 10, and it did not pan out well. But I'm feeling very much like this Rolo, where it's that look on his face virtually there. I mean, that could be either become a smile real quick or a frown. It depends on how good I get at the game in the next week. How would you say your Rolo check-in is looking this week?
Well, it's funny that even though yours is a digital and mine is the Portland Trailblazers Rolo, we both went with the Soul Patch Rolo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that says about us. Maybe we're feeling something in the depths of our loins this week. Anyways,
we're soulful guys.
A soulful, yeah. We got a lot of depth, you and I. So I'm feeling, in this, he's feeling pretty chipper. He's smiling. Last episode, I was down in one of my valleys, but I'm coming out. And so for those out there that can empathize, we get low, but then we always come out of it. I feel like I'm on the up, had some good therapy sessions. This pod is the therapy for me. I'm excited to be here. So I'm feeling soulful, and I'm having a smile on my face today.
Glad to hear that you're back in a smiling mood, no matter how low you get. You're never too Rolo. Just remember.
Moving on to our social media roundup. In our social media roundup, ladies and gentlemen, it's just what it sounds. We scour the interwebs of the Orlando Magic looking for your tweets, posts that might be insightful, intriguing, or just downright hilarious. And we've got a great lineup today. The first one is a short story, if you will, Pish. This one is from Donnie 15 Pushups at Donnie TT2, and he compiles a story in 4 different posts. Donnie lets us know that he found a Mo Bamba jersey at a Goodwill. Such a travesty. That should never happen. That person should be flogged. Of course, our good man, Donnie, purchased said jersey, and because it seemed like a gift from the universe, he wore that jersey to the Utah Jazz game. Lo and behold, the Orlando Magic win that game 107-100. And the final end of the story is that jersey has served its purpose. It is now retired by Donnie.
Shout out to Goodwill. Shout out to Mo Bamba. I mean, I saw this original post and laughed because I was so amazed that there would just be a current player on his current team's jersey at a Goodwill. But this guy, he scored the ultimate pickup, and then the Magic scored the ultimate win. So I just, it's always fun when you see a good little short story like that.
Hey, I ate it up. I'm an English teacher. So short story, this immediately like, save. We're going to talk about this on the show. Next, we have a post from, I believe, the Orlando Magic handle, the official, or it might have been Orlando Magic PR. It is a side-by-side of Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony. And in the post, the text writes, so on a scale of 1 to Cole Anthony, how worried are you about Jalen Suggs after his first 11 games? And you have side-by-side of the first 11 games for career stats. Suggs has averaging 12 points. Cole was averaging just under 10. Their field goal percentage is pretty much the same. Surprisingly, Jalen Suggs was shooting better from beyond the arc than Cole was in his first 11. And, their rebounds were about the same. The assists about the same, just showing that, hey, pump the brakes. It's only 11 games. If we're all in love with Cole Anthony right now, we shouldn't be piling on Jalen because just a year ago, Cole Anthony was in a similar spot. How are you feeling about Suggs right now, Pich?
Yeah, well, if I'm going to answer this question literally, and I'm assuming that on a scale of 1 to Cole Anthony would be 1 to 50, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm only like 11 worried, 11 out of 50, because this is such a small window of what he can do. And there's a lot to learn about the NBA game. It's not just what happens on the court. It's what happens off the court and the road trips and getting used to all that stuff. And it's going to just take some time. Like the real reason is you're not worried at all. 11 out of 50 is almost nothing. I mean, this is just sit back and enjoy and wait for it to happen. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. And you made the great point that Cole Anthony was here a year ago and his first season was a weird first season where there's not fans in the stands, stuff like that. So in a way, we're all just getting used to the new normal, which is the old normal again.
Yeah, I mean, this is a side-by-side of the two, and something that's not in this graphic that both of these young men possess is just supreme confidence. I'm not worried. Sure. I'm not worried about Jalen. He has a good head on his shoulders. He seems like a level-headed dude, very confident in his ability to progress and continue to get better. So I am sure a year from now, we're going to be feeling just the same about him as we do about Cole right now.
The only person who should be worried about Jalen Suggs is his mama, because mama's always going to be worrying. Yeah. Everybody else should be cool.
Next, we have a post from what's becoming our social media just stalwart, always at the ready, Jeff Weltgod at MagicMan816. If you're not following him, make sure you do. Awesome follow. And in this, he says, I love this Orlando Magic team. We are allowed to have nice things. And in the picture, he has photoshopped onto the faces of NWO, the faces of Coach Mosley, WCJ, Cole, Franz, and RJ. Now, Pich, you got to help me with this. I know nothing about wrestling. I know nothing about NWO. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to really love this post, and I did like it at first and just kind of laugh. But the wrestling fan in me is triggered because the NWO was a group of old guys that got together, and it is kind of the exact opposite of what the Orlando Magic is, where all of these guys are young or new to coaching and isn't really in the spirit of the NWO. And also things didn't really pan out well for the NWO in the long run. So maybe we could set our sights a little higher than that. But I guess it's true that we are allowed to have nice things because this is just a nice little post, and I shouldn't read into it more than I did. So it's still good stuff.
Wow. You're a wrestling nerd when ... Jeff Weltgod, get on your wrestling knowledge. This meme is not acceptable.
Change him into DX. Let's go.
Oh, see, I remember that one. That's the
Right. A lot of cross drops, a lot of
Yeah.
youngness, a lot of like,
Yep.
like in the face of
Mhm.
everybody else and doing it.
Yeah.
If I had to pick a group, which I wasn't
Mhm.
asked, but I'm telling you anyway, I think I'd go with DX.
I think that group was responsible for a lot of regrettable decisions in my middle school years and how I X'd many individuals. I think that would not be good. I'm going to go back and say, don't do that, young Kyle. You're a good lad.
If they send you if they send you to school with a shirt that says "suck it" on the back, yeah, bad things are going to happen.
the last post for our social media roundup, we have to talk about. It was from the official Orlando Magic Twitter. It was the post with the new city edition jerseys. These are looking freshly fresh for a number of reasons. I'm not a huge fan of the orange. We've talked about this on our never released first episode. Maybe it will be released later because I don't have that same connection to Florida. You and I became Magic fans because our grandparents were down there. We were going down there. Your pops got really into it. Then I got into it and we went to games. But I don't have that same connection to the orange industry, that Florida does and the importance. I get it. But for me, the orange is just hard to match with most of my clothing because I don't have a lot of orange clothing. But I do say that this is probably my favorite iteration of any of the orange jerseys that we have. It's not overstated. It is, the pinstripe is an homage to the classic that I'm wearing right now. The Magic logo is, homage to those early days with Tracy McGrady, and it has the classic ball logo on it. The only thing I'm not sure on, Pich, and we talked about this a little bit, is that the pinstripes aren't truly pinstripes. They're actually text. Mm-hmm. And the text, I believe, is "Why not us? Why not now?" which was the rallying cry from the 95 NBA Finals, the hat of which you are wearing at this moment. And while I like that nod to our history, it just seems a little bit too much for this rebuilding team. And that idea of the Phoenix will rise. Why not us? Why not now? A little forced. I've got a long list of why not us? Why not now? What do you think about these new jerseys, Pich?
Well, if people had seen the first episode, they would have heard our takes on the original orange jerseys, and I think we both felt pretty similarly about them. I really didn't like that it said ORL on the front because that's oral, and then they actually had the star in there, which made it look like Orla, and it just was complicated and it looked weird. They took everything I love about Magic jerseys and kind of just made it orange. And I'm all in on this thing. I love this thing. The minute I saw it, I think I texted you immediately. I'm like, oh my God, these things are fire. This is amazing. We later learned that the game we're going to be at, they're going to be wearing these things. I'm definitely going to come back from Florida with at least one of these bad boys. Just a matter of what numbers on the front. I love them. The pinstripes tapering off, I'm not a fan of even on this jersey. I don't like that ideal, but the pinstripes not being pinstripes is weird. I don't think it's necessary to include that logo there, I think, or that slogan. I think they could have put it in the collar like they do on the NHL jerseys if they wanted to have something like that, like a slogan. It's a little much. I get that, it's a continuous nod to past teams and all that kind of stuff, but why not us? Why not now was a thing that worked for a team with Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway and like their first and second seasons there. And it doesn't really apply too much to us, but I'm going to go ahead and go the other way on this one. I know it's going to shock you. With the amount of young guys we have in there, and we just talked about DX and bucking the system and trying to rise, this is a team that could be a playoff team next year. And if they go into it with that mentality of why not us, why not now? Okay, maybe not now this season, but now as in within the next 4 or 5 years, if you look at it in a broader term, I like that they want to put that mindset into our players. So I'm okay with it.
Pisha, I think you've turned a corner, man. I think you've turned an optimistic corner. I don't know what this pod is doing for you or what watching all these Magic games is happening, but holy moly. Wow.
It's gotta be all the great sights and sounds that I hear when I'm watching the live calls and hearing great things like left hand, right hand, all around the town. David Steele and the boys calling the games. I don't know. No, I think it's just, it's okay to be positive when things are this negative. So anything that gets them going, like we talked about with the bell in the practice facility, anything that will get this team gelling, keep them together, and keep them positive that things can happen, go forward, we got to grasp onto it.
Amen, man. I'm with you on that, brother.
Wait,
Well,
would you call? Is that a hustle play? I'm ringing the bell. Hustle play for this guy. Let's go.
That is a winning play, sir. And thank you, everyone, for those winning posts. Keep them coming. Send it if you want us to post yours on the show. It would help to @court_cousins on Instagram or Twitter. We would love to see anything that you think is intriguing, interesting, or funny. Now, we are moving on into a new segment, Pich. And this is interesting because I'm the teacher here, right? I'm the one that's supposed to be facilitating the learning and helping others to achieve their learning goals. And now the title of this segment is What I Learned, but you're taking the lead. What's going on in this segment, Pich?
Well, I thought it was a good idea if I could talk about briefly what I learned from all the Magic games, because this is the first season I've ever been able to watch all the games, and I'm watching all the games this season. So I thought it'd be fun if I checked in with just a little blurb about what I learned as I go along the way, because unlike you, who is a teacher and can teach his knowledge to the class, my knowledge is usually basketball or comedy related. So why not pop those in one segment and tell everybody what I learned about basketball and in the Orlando Magic? So I feel like this is my wheelhouse. Have a seat at the desk, sir. I'll be taking the apple from my desk on this one, and let's go ahead down.
Lay it on me, Pich.
Game by game. So, we had the 7 games that took place since the last show. The first one was against Charlotte. During that game, I learned that Miles Bridges isn't a lengthy overpass in New Hampshire. I wasn't really familiar with his work, but that's on me. He's a very good player. He's taken that next jump into perhaps superstardom.
Yeah, it could be most improved player of the year this year.
Hard to argue against that, although maybe Cole Anthony. I don't know.
Ooh, I like.
So then they played against Toronto, and I learned that the Raptors have a player named Og. Seems like a weird name. I mean, unless he is from cave times. Not really sure about that one. Also picked up Scotty Barnes is probably a lot better than we thought he was going to be. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, I think that's true. I always was hoping that he was going to be a great player. I didn't want him on our team because we've already got a bunch of good forwards and they're all playing really well. But I'm happy that he's doing well, and we got our guy too. So it's all good, Toronto. Okay, peace, Toronto, peace. We come in peace. You can stop adding us on Twitter. We don't care.
They are trying to turn that into some sort of weird rivalry.
They really
and
are.
those two guys are kind of friendly with each other, and it doesn't really matter to anybody but fans. So get over it. Then we went to play against Detroit, and that's where I learned that Kelly Olynyk is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This guy just produces all over the court.
Yep.
Well, my guy over here is telling me that he doesn't always produce at that level. So no Hall of Fame, just All-Star game? No, probably not. Oh, okay. Maybe I need to see more Kelly Olynyk, but he looked like a Hall of Famer to me in that game.
Yeah, when he's not against the Magic, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Then we went to play at Minnesota, and this is the game that I would entitle The Rise of Franz. 28 points from him, 31 also from Cole, but let's be honest, Franz was the man making noise in that game with the bringing the German hammer to the table, which I think we're going to talk about later. So I'll just move on from there. Then we came home. We took on the Boston Celtics, and this was when I learned how much I miss that coverage from NBA.TV and getting to watch the Magic game at home, because I was blacked out because I live here in Boston and I had to watch the NBC Boston coverage, which stinks. And I had to listen.
Oh, you didn't like the White Mamba? The White Mamba?
No.
Ryan Scalabrine? No?
Not after being so used to hearing the Magic stuff, and I missed out on David Steele, and was something going to be anything? I missed that whole spiel, and I really did miss it. And that's when it really came to fruition that, man, I hadn't been watching these games properly my entire life. Now I know. And that's
now you're home. Battle. Now you're home.
G.I. Joe. All right. And then, so then we took on the San Antonio Spurs. And what I learned here is the San Antonio Spurs really have the Orlando Magic's number. They got us in the preseason. They've got us twice in the regular season already, despite not having a team of guys that you've heard of or should know about. They're playing way above their head, so far above their head. They beat my other team, the Milwaukee Bucks. They're legit 3-7 right now as we were recording this, and all 3 wins are against my favorite teams. So apparently the Spurs, who their G League team was in Austin, where I just moved from, are exacting a little revenge for me leaving town. That's totally fine.
Dude, it's your fault. I'm putting that one on. I'm putting those losses on you. The Cosmos is after you, dude.
We don't play them again all season, so it's over now.
Okay. It's overdone. It's done. Wow.
And then lastly, we played against Utah. And of course, we all know that Cole Anthony had 33 points. And RJ Hampton was in at the end of the game, which is great. We'll talk about that in a little bit. My thing to note here was the line from WCJ, who put up 22 points, 15 boards, and 6 assists. This guy was all over the court. He played such a great full game. He looked confident. He was going to the hole strong. And that's the guy that we need to see all the time. That's the guy that when you look at that contract, you're like, is this something? Yes. Ring the bell. He played well, and that was yes, Cole played well, but it was his play, I think, that made that real difference. He was the other guy who stepped up and produced. So and on a fun fact note, I'm pretty sure that Quinn Snyder is a young Doc Brown from Back to the Future. If you take a look at that guy on the sideline, his hair is crazy. He looks bizarre. I don't know if he always looks like he just woke up from a nap or something. Like what's with this guy? Can we get this guy a stylist or something?
He looks like he would be a perfect cast for some type of Marvel villain. Like he does look like he's got some things going on, some evil machinations. Yep. You know, there's definitely something in the dark underbelly of Quinn Snyder that we need to get to the bottom of. And that's a whole other pod.
I had not thought about it until you just said this, but now that you mention it, I could totally see him putting together like a pair of golden boots with like 5 gemstones on it and just like kicking out half of the universe. He looks like that dude. So overall, from watching all of the 7 games, here is my fun stat of the week that I want to focus on. The Magic at this point in the season have been averaging 16.5 turnovers a game, which is too many. But here's what's fun about it. We have 3 wins this season against the Knicks, the T-Wolves, and the Jazz. Those were our 3 lowest turnover games of the season. So if we keep it at 13 turnovers or less, we win the game. Anything over that, we lose. There's a reason that some stats exist, and there's a reason that they matter. And I know the difference may only be 4 or 5 possessions, but sometimes that's all you need to stay in the game or stay around and where you need to be. And in some closer games, like the Pistons game and the Raptors game, those extra few possessions would have made the difference. So that's my insight. That's what I learned from the Magic games.
Wow. Pich, it was great to go to the schoolyard with you, man. Thanks
for coming.
Thank you for that playground knowledge, my friend. I think we got to keep that. I like those Pich rundowns, some light statistics with the heavy comedy. I dig it, man. Thanks for the last.
An old man, his porch, and some words of wisdom.
You kids, you don't know how good you have it. Back in the day, we didn't have NBA.TV. We didn't have the internet. We got up one day. We saw if our team was on television. They weren't. And then we looked in the paper to see if they won. And sometimes they wouldn't have the results of the game because it was too late. So we waited the next day and we looked at it in the paper again. And that's how we found out if our team won or not.
Now, going into our next game that we like to play on this show, a classic, an oldie but a goodie, fill in the blank. So in this segment, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to present Pich and myself with some sentences, but there is one word missing, and our job is to fill in the blank. Pich, you ready for the first one?
Always.
All right, here you go. The concept of Cole Anthony making the All-Star game is blank.
Possible. I know it's not like baseball where they take one player from each team. If they did, obviously he's the one we send. But if he keeps putting up numbers like that, he's going to be hard to ignore in the Eastern Conference, I think. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say probable. I feel like we're a little ways from that yet, but it's very possible, which is not something I would have thought of us having someone at the All-Star game who wasn't in the dunk contest, that is, or the rookie sophomore game. But yeah, I think it's very possible. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go along that same lines and say that Cole Anthony making the All-Star game is feasible. I mean, he's already cemented his place in that freshman sophomore game. That goes without dispute. And I know how many on the All-Star roster. That's what I'd have to figure out. Is it 15, something like that?
I think it's 15, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know they do it differently now. It's just front court and back court players. It's not necessarily position by position. So I think the only thing that would hold Cole off of that is depending on how some of these players are categorized. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later when we get into the Court Cousins Championship and the prowess of Cole Anthony's rebounding. And he stacks up like top 5, top 6, top 7 in some of these defensive rebounding categories. If he can get his scoring up and also be considered in the elite, and the people that he's behind, there's a couple on there that I don't know if I'd necessarily even consider them guards, but they came up when I was filtering the stats. Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum. I mean, I know those guys can be pretty ball dominant, but Jason Tatum's like 6'9", 6'10". I mean, he's a forward. I would consider those guys point forwards. So if he's competing against those guys for spots, it might get a little dicey. I mean, you got guys like Trae Young that are playing really well. I mean, you got Kyle Lowry's having a really good season. I think he's over a guy like Kemba, Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine.
Yeah, I'm not even sure they actually do the Eastern Western Conference thing anymore because they just have 2 players divvy up teams. So that could actually hurt him now that I'm thinking about it. I missed and by the way, I missed the old Eastern Western Conference. Let's just get it on with some stakes instead of just, I don't want to watch a glorified pickup game for an All-Star game.
Well, I think they do still do Eastern Western Conference, but then they put them all together and they get drafted. So I think it's feasible, but he's still kind of on the outside looking in. Next one. Blank is the next player the Orlando Magic give up on too early, who then peaks elsewhere. Now, who do you think that is, Pich?
Yeah, I don't want to lie.
Don't take mine.
This was my brainchild because I feel like this has happened to the Orlando Magic a lot, and I'm looking at our lineup and I see a lot of young guys, and at some point you got to decide to pay some and let some go. So inevitably we're probably going to get rid of somebody that might peak elsewhere. And the one guy that I was looking at that I was thinking this about was Chumo Kiki. Right now, honestly, I have not been impressed with what I've seen, but I guess he's still working his way back in, or I'm not really sure what it is he does. Doesn't seem like a guy who shoots the rock. He doesn't create his own shot. I'm trying to figure out where he fits in. But I could see him fitting in well with another team or getting coached up to do a certain thing and doing it very well. So if I had to guess anybody right now, I'd say he'd be the next one.
Oof. I did not see that one coming. I hope that is wrong. I'm going with one that I think maybe fans out there will probably guess. I'm going to say RJ Hampton is the next player the Orlando Magic give up on too early, who peaks elsewhere. I feel as though our guard log jam has been well spoken of. We've got, Fultz coming back, I believe highly in Markelle Fultz and his play. We've already got Suggs, who they invested top 5 pick in. So he's going to be around. Cole is playing his pants off, so he's not going anywhere. Gary Harris, T. Ross, they may be gone, but what happens with the playing time for RJ? I can see him getting a little disconcerted and maybe him and the team deciding to part ways. I hope it doesn't happen. I think he likes being around the guys, but I'm thinking that he might get squeezed with playing time. The franchise hasn't invested as much in him as some of the other players. Yes, we did trade Aaron Gordon, and he was kind of the big piece coming back. So that is an investment, but I could just see him being the one that the front office decides to move on from if and when it ever became necessary, which I hope it doesn't. Why did we do this fill in the blank? This is horrible fill in the blank. I don't like thinking about this.
I don't know, man. It can't be all fluff and good vibes. Every once in a while, you got to keep it real. And this forced you to keep it real. You never do that.
No, Pete, I told you, Jason, I'm my ROLO Check In. I'm on the up. Why are you trying to drag me back down the mountain like I'm Sisyphus over here? Anyways.
Well, if anything, it actually got us to speak well about a couple of guys who maybe aren't getting spoken of and saying that we're worried that they actually have talent, but we're not seeing it quite yet. It's not really a knock on what will happen. It's just who are the guys that we think are good that haven't peaked yet.
Well, you need to go back and watch some Chuma highlights from last year. You just got on the NBA package, so you haven't gotten that nice dose of Chuma.
Right.
We've seen what he can be. I think you'll be impressed once he gets his legs back under him.
I hope so. I've
and gets
also
back to
only
playing.
really seen Fultz play with pretty much the 2K squad. So I'm not sure exactly what he's bringing to the table either. It's tough to figure out all that stuff and see how these guys are when they come back from injury.
All right, next fill in the blank. On our, I don't even know if this was on one of the release shows where we did the over-under for the season betting, 22.5 wins. That might have been on episode 2 that wasn't released, or maybe it was on episode 3. I'm not sure. So the question is, or the fill in the blank is, after the first 11 games, you feel blank about your season wins over and under 22.5 selection. So let me start on this one, Pich.
Mm-hmm.
I did the disdainful, the horrible, the unforgivable of betting the under on 22.5 wins for our beloved Orlando Magic. Now, I was just hit by a dose of reality. We've got a lot of young guys. It takes time to learn how to win. And right now, I would say I am feeling trepidatious about my season selection for over under 22.5 wins. A little nervous because even though we're at 11 games, call it 10, we've won 3. You know, if we multiply out that by 8, there's your math right there. So the wins are happening, but Pich, but in our first 10 games, actually, we only had 2 wins. So we were 2-8 before the Jazz game. And if you do that math out, then we're just under. So I'm a little bit nervous, especially with Kel. I'll give you the floor 1 second. With Kel and JI coming back, our bench is going to be much bolstered. I think we're going to win more games. I actually think we're going to go over. So I'm a little trepidatious about my under pick. How you feeling, Pich?
You should be trepidatious. I feel steady because I had a whole math thing worked up because of what you just said. But the one math thing you forgot to figure out is that there's actually 82 games in the season and not 80. So it's okay that we have 3 wins with 11 to go because that's roughly 10. So then you times that by 8. And then, yeah, there's still that extra game. But 3 times 8 is 24. So that's still feeling pretty good to this guy.
Well, you clearly haven't looked at our next 7 games then, sir.
Well, no, I have, but I understand that like there's going to be those lumps along the way. We're still going to have to lose probably 60 games, but 24 wins. I only need 23 for me to be right, so I'm feeling good.
Hey, I hope I'm way wrong because I have that whatever plus 20,000 odds on our 10th place seating. So I hope we hit that. Next one. And maybe we'll have some disagreement here. In our pre-show, I think we might have found some disagreement. Blank is the leader of this team. What say you, Pich?
Yeah, it's Cole Anthony. Like, how's it not Cole Anthony? I'm going to go ahead and yield most of my time to you because I don't see how it's not Cole Anthony. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So let me take the people through my thinking process on this. I think Cole is definitely an obvious answer just because of the way he's playing and the confidence that he exudes and the way that he seems to be a glue guy. I mean, he just seems to really be a team-oriented dude. I was initially going to go with Jonathan Isaac because over the summer, he is the one that took the leadership and reached out to everybody to organize that trip to North Carolina when all the guys got together. I think I think the young guys would respect a veteran, but I'm not sure how some of JI's personality nuances, maybe personal decisions and things jive with certain people in the locker room. I think they still respect him, but I think that may take away from some of his leadership ability. So I'm going to go with Jalen Suggs is the leader of this team. I'm going all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum. And the reason for this is that I really believe in Jalen Suggs' leadership ability. When he came into the league in his post-draft interviews, the way that he comports himself, the way that he handles himself, you could tell that he is steady. He is going to be a guiding hand. I love Cole. I love his personality. If this question were, who do you want to kick it with? Cole's number one. And I think his enthusiasm is great, but sometimes in a leader, you want someone who's not going to have the crazy highs like that, because you want that guiding hand. And while Jalen Suggs is not having the greatest start, I think if we look at his career, being a highly touted quarterback, that is a serious leadership role. Being the leader at Gonzaga, which went to the national championship, and now coming into the league and already kind of stepping into the role of Orlando Magic cornerstone, even though things haven't really played out that way, he still handles the spotlight very, very well. And I think that people within the organization really respect that. I think in the long term, maybe by the end of the season, he is going to be the leader of the squad.
I mean, all right, you made a case for it. And look, I believe that he will be the leader of this team at some point. I don't know if he is right now, but I'm talking about guys on the court too. Cause yeah, I think that maybe if Fultz comes back, or if Isaac's back playing, maybe they do become a little bit more of a leader. But I'm talking about like right now who I see leading. And I think you're taking it out on Cole because of his sporadic play and how it makes you feel inside.
It makes me feel spasmodic.
Let's be honest. When this guy's got the ball in his hands, he's doing things. Everything should be going through him in some way, shape, or form. I still feel like it's him right now, but I like what you're bringing to the table with Suggs, because I feel like his makeup and who he is as a human being was who I was excited to have on this team, because that's the kind of player you want leading your team eventually. And I don't think he's quite there yet, but he will be soon, hopefully.
Okay, you got me. I maybe was projecting and not dealing with the here and now. So this next one is the here and now, and I'm going to try to stay in the here and now. As of now, the Chicago Bulls trade is looking blank. Pich?
I'm going to go with Sweet in honor of our boy Sweet Franz. Because even if we only got Sweet Franz in this deal, it might be one of those scratchers where you think about it, but also getting WCJ in there, that's two starters for one. And I know that they may not be at an all-star level like Vooch was, but I'll take two starters over an all-star almost all the time. But then when you go ahead and further sweeten the pot with a 2023 pick, I mean, no slight to the Vooch, but the Magic got the victory here.
Definitely not going to throw shade at Vooch. He is the man. Love him. One of the greatest Magic players of all time, in my opinion. This trade is looking delectable. I'm right on that sweetness with you, Pich. It's looking delectable. It's looking savory. It is fantastic right now. I mean, for a rebuilding team, it put us in a great spot. We got out of a larger contract with Vooch and got into a younger guy in WCJ. I've seen some posts online with their stat lines side by side, and they're pretty much even. Now, stat lines are just one thing. It's not the same as the eyeball test, and I haven't watched as much Bulls as I would like this year, but everything I'm hearing from Bulls fans is like, this dude Vooch is not who we thought he was. He's not meeting our expectations. And to those Bulls fans, I would say patience. He is probably the last cog in the machine that is the Bulls. And that's really difficult for a guy going from the number one option to now like the fourth option. So I think he's just acclimating himself to the role. I will say in some of the Bulls games I've watched, his defense is getting kind of exposed there and not near the level of, a Bamba or what WCJ is and will continue to grow into. So I say on the defensive side, we're definitely getting the better of that. And then, like you said, we've got Sweet Franz. We got a guy who could be a cornerstone for the foreseeable future. And who knows what that 2023 pick will be. The Bulls are very good right now. They're probably going to be pretty good in 2023, but you never know with injuries. I mean, we also have, the Nuggets pick too. They're injured. So it's like, you never know. It
Even if you
out.
Just look at it from a Wendell Carter Jr. versus Vooch standpoint, I think we got the victory because Vooch has peaked already and is probably on his way down. No offense. But even if he's got 1 or 2 good years, well, WCJ's probably got 5, 6 at least of peak years ahead. So his potential ceiling could be bigger. And we've already seen Vooch's. So I like it from that standpoint as well.
Definitely was sad to see Vooch go, but love where the team's at. And kudos to the front office because they got some real hauls coming back for the players that we sent out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've been very critical of the Magic's front office for years, which is why I have been kind of a dusty fan, if you will, because I haven't seen anything I've liked from them in a long time. I get excited when we draft a player and then he doesn't pan out, or we trade him away and then he pans out. And it's just been an exhausting run of like, oh yeah, we made the playoffs, but you're an 8 seed. You're not actually going anywhere. You're just toiling in the mid card, so I'm excited at the things I've seen from the front office in the past year already, which is fantastic. So it's finally something to make me dust myself off and get in front of the TV and watch every Magic game.
Well, I'm glad that old dusty fan is out of the cupboard and onto the couch for these games. It's been a pleasure watching them with you, Pich. Now, speaking of getting dusted off and getting dusted, you want to introduce the next segment, buddy?
All right. Well, just shine this up real
shine
nice
that up
for
for
you.
me.
I will be bringing this with me to Bridgeport this weekend to see you, and we will do an official coronation because the belt is yours, my friend. After our first 2 weeks, you kind of put it on me there. I thought I had a good chance this week. I had to sweep, but Franz's points per game started to dip, and David Steele couldn't ring the bell, and things just got away from me.
Yeah, and Chuma played. That was good.
Yes, he played a lot more than we reckoned, and all in all, I'm not that sad about losing a lot of those bets. It is what it is. It goes the way it goes. It was still fun. It gave me a little skin in the game without actually having to lose any money or my livelihood or the roof over my head or anything like that. So I kind of like that. So
that's my job.
I'll bring this to you this weekend. You'll hang on to it for a couple of shows and then I'll take it back.
No, that puppy's going to stay with me. That puppy's going to live with me, Pich. You're going to have a challenge getting that one back.
So as a part of the coronation for the show, since you don't actually have the belt with you right now, go ahead and enjoy your win here for a minute. Tell me something.
I'm just going to bask in this glory. Pich, the good people out there, this. As a Magic fan, it's been tough. We haven't had a lot of winning. In my adult life, really, that 09, 08, 09 finals run was my only taste of that sweet fruit of victory. And for me, this first round win of the Court Cousins Championship is right there. It feels so good. It sustains me. And you know what? I'm going to have to put it on you again, Pich. What you got for round 2, my friend?
All right, here my first challenge for this next week. This is kind of a fun one, little weird one, but I got Mo fouls in the next stretch of games. 7 games coming up. Think about that. Think about what that's going to mean for a second while I tell you that the next 7 games are against the Nets, the Wizards, and then a brutal road trip begins where we play Atlanta, New York, the Knicks, the Nets, and then the Bucks twice. Good God, it's going to be tough. But anyway, so my first one is for this stretch of games, Mo fouls. Wagner and Bamba's combined fouls per game right now is at 6.5. That's the line. Where are you at?
Okay.
Mo Bamba's rocking up a lot of fouls, my guy.
Yeah, he is. And just so that people know, the way that this works, we're going to have 4 wagers back and forth. This is the first one, and we divvy up the points that way to decide who's the champion after a month of shows. I'm going to, I think Mo has been getting much better in terms of not fouling. You're saying he's been racking up a lot of fouls. Pich, if you would have watched the last couple of years of Magic basketball closely, you would not believe the jump he's made. He's going vertical so much better. And so I'm proud of the progress he's made. And I think that Moritz Wagner, as much as I don't like to say it, will be getting less playing time just because we've got, Chuma's coming back. he's going to get some burn at the 4, as will Franz too. So that means Mo will probably be like playing more center, and therefore Moritz will probably be getting less playing time, although it appears that he has very clearly earned the minutes over Rollo. So just because I think Mo's going to be playing a little bit less and I'm banking on Mo to continue getting better, I'm going to take the under on Mo fouls at 6.5 per game.
Yeah, I think you're on the good side of it here for those reasons. Exactly. I'm not going to totally reiterate what you just said, but I don't mind that Bamba's using a lot of fouls. I like that he's challenging shots and he's not afraid to use them. I mean, you foul out of a game, but big deal. If you're in it for most of the game, that's fine. That we need you to be in there and to be a force to make people think about not coming in there. And he's been doing that. So if you leave the game with 4 or 5 fouls, who cares? You get them, use them.
Yeah. And make him feel it. I remember that Timberwolves game. He was playing a little lost and we're like, what's going on? We need him to be tenacious. And then there was a timeout. Mosley said something to him and he came out and he was fouling some dudes, but he was letting them know it. And that's what we want from Bamba for sure. Okay. Next wager, Pich, in the Court Cousins Championship round 2. RJ Hampton in Cole Anthony's now legendary, one of his many legendary press conferences, facts. He mentioned after that he had been talking to RJ about playing time, and RJ was disappointed with his playing time. So over the last 5 minutes, RJ's playing time has averaged 18.5 minutes per game. After his performance in the Utah Jazz, where he was on the floor in the fourth quarter, Pich, do you think he will go over or under 18.5 minutes in this next stretch of games?
This is a good one. It's also another interesting one with minutes played. Usually not a lot of betting on that, but I'm going to have to take the over here based on 2 factors. Number one, I think RJ has been playing well lately, so he's earning a little bit more time. So you will probably get to see him a little bit more, especially before, Fultz is back. And if MCW ever comes back, there's definitely minutes for him to be lost going forward. So now is the time for him to get them.
Yeah.
But also because of the opponents I named, I feel like we could be on the wrong side of a couple of blowouts in there. And that means extra playing time for guys like RJ. So even if in like 3 of those games, he starts to get most of the fourth quarter, I feel like that could end up pushing him over on average. So I'm taking the over.
Okay. I like that logic. I think it makes sense. I mean, it's interesting to hear Cole in the interview kind of out his boy Roderick. Shout out to Roderick. That they had that conversation, that personal conversation, and that RJ was upset over his minutes. And that makes sense. I mean, in the game against Toronto, he played a little over 5.5 minutes. In the game against Charlotte, he played a little under 10.5 minutes. But honestly, his play dictated that. And I think what we're looking at here is like, is it going to be Suggs or RJ on the floor? Because that's kind of how, if RJ's playing more, Suggs has been playing less. That's kind of how it's been going a little bit. Although Suggs has been playing the 1. So I think RJ's play has been coming up. I like where you're at on the over. I don't like that I'm on the under. What do you have for me, Pich?
You should feel pretty good on that under, by the way, because you just mentioned 2 games where he played 10.5 and like 5.5 minutes. So
yeah, but I think
taking
he's on
a risk
the up.
Here.
He's on the up.
Agreed.
He's at the beginning of the season. That was kind of right after. He was playing out of control. He kind of looked like he was running around with the chicken, like a chicken with its head cut off. He didn't have a lot of direction. You could see,
but like the fastest chicken.
Yeah, I thought the fastest chicken you've ever seen for sure. But I mean, his turnovers were happening. It just kind of looked lost. So lately, I feel like the game is slowing down for him a little bit. He's been playing more within himself, and Coach Mose has been rewarding him. I think that rewarding continues.
Hope you're right. All right. So here's another thing we hope happens. I think 20-point games for Jalen Suggs in this next stretch. Going to set that at 1.5. He only has had 1 so far, 21 points against Toronto, but he's probably going to be on the court quite a bit in these next few matchups. How do you feel it pans out for him? Can he get 20 twice?
Oh man. I mean, he certainly can. He certainly can. His shot looks good coming off his hand. He's shooting less because I haven't been going in for him. I just don't know. I don't know, man. I don't like this. I think that I don't want to, but I'm gonna go under just using the numbers. I mean, he's only had one in the first 11 games, and that was against Toronto. You got to figure that he was trying to really get up for that game with the whole Scotty Barnes versus Jalen Suggs. I mean, I know they're boys, but you still, with that competitive edge, you want to show why you were the guy that should have gotten chosen. Both those guys balled out in that game, which was awesome. But, you know, in that one game, he shot 50% from 3-point land on 8 attempts. So I don't necessarily see that happening very much. I think that where Suggs's game can grow right now is finishing around the rim and just maybe getting a couple foul calls, although they're calling many less fouls this year. And that's great, but I don't think it will pile up the points in a way to get him many games over 20. I think he can get one, but I'm going to take the under on this.
Well, I'm excited about that because like we had in the last round where I was taking the over on points per game for Sweet Franz. I rooted so hard for Sweet Franz and I enjoyed it. So now I'm going to be on the Suggs train for the next week and I'm all aboard. I'm excited about it.
All right, last one for you, Pich. This is for our boy Cole Anthony, who has been balling out, putting up crazy points, shooting the rock really well. But this is not about his shooting or his points. This is about his rebounds. Cole Anthony has been averaging 7.1 total rebounds. Will he maintain this or will he falter? What say you, Pich? Over under on 6.5 rebounds for our boy Cole Anthony.
I'm going over here. I'm not going to take a long time leading up to what way I'm going to go. I'm going over here. Cole Anthony has a nose for the ball, man. And he is a great rebounder for a small guard. And part of that, and this is going to sound like a joke, but I am dead serious about this. Cole Anthony just wants the frickin' ball. So that's why he's a good rebounder, because he wants the ball. So he figures out where it's going to bounce off the rim and he goes and gets it. Some of the Magic players inside are not as forceful when they go up for certain rebounds, but he wants the damn ball. So he's going to grab a lot of those defensive rebounds continuously. And I just don't see him going under 6.5. He's doing as good a job as anyone at his height as a guard in the NBA has ever done rebounding. And I think it's going to continue.
No, you're absolutely right, man. I wish I was on that side. Cole is 6th in defensive rebounds amongst guards. He's 7 in overall rebounds amongst guards. But again, on that list, he's behind guys like Jason Tatum and Luka, which I mean, I consider those guys point forwards. Yeah, those dudes are like 6'8", 6'9", right? 6'10". Right. So Cole is in a league of his own when it comes to that. He is, just undeniable for that rock. So that's our bets, ladies and gentlemen. That's our 4 wagers for Court Cousins. Over the next 2 weeks before we record the next episode, we'll see who comes out on top. And then, Pich, you do have to unseat me, though, because the champion must be beat.
Yes, if there's a tie, the champion retains. That's the way it goes. But for now, sir, let me go ahead and ring the bell for you for your championship victory. I will bring the belt to you this weekend. Looking forward to it.
I'm really excited to see you, Pich. And it's been great to see everyone today. Thank you so much for listening to this show. If you're this far, please like and subscribe. Share this to all your friends and fam. Follow us at Court_Cousins. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Thanks for coming.